I don't think anyone would argue the idea that a Jedi makes for a pretty badass playable video game protagonist. They've got a lightsaber, force powers, they're quick, and they can jump really high. All great innate attributes for an action game, but one challenge about having a Jedi main character is that they're only really known to use lightsabers. That presents a bit of an issue as most good action game heroes have multiple weapons to help keep combat fresh over the course of the game. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order found a solution to this problem by giving Cal 2 different lightsaber stances, each with their own combat focus and moveset, and with the sequel, Jedi Survivor, Respawn is looking to up the ante with a total of 5 different stances that Cal can use over the course of his journey. To find out more about each of these stances, I talked with Senior Design Director Jason DeHarris and Game Director Stig Asmussen, who walked me through the design philosophy behind each stance and their unique approaches to combat. One of the big focuses throughout the development of Jedi Survivor has been this concept of Jedi 2.0, and how to take Cal from where he was in Jedi Fallen Order, a young and relatively inexperienced Padawan trying to find his place and identity, to where he is now in Jedi Survivor, a much more confident and capable Jedi Knight who is also 5 years wiser. Asmussen said that the team wanted this change reflected in Cal not just in the story, but through his combat as well. As a result, Cal is a much more capable fighter right from the start in Jedi Survivor, with 3 saber stances available right from the beginning of the game: single blade, double bladed, and dual blade.
We felt like it was important to give the player a greater arsenal right off the bat. We had 2 fully realized stances in the first game, and that was the single and that was the staff. And we had a stance where you had a twin blade, which was something that we wanted to fully realize in the first game, but we basically ran out of time, and it ended up becoming a special move. It was a really cool moment, but it was, not given the same amount of focus and execution. So that was like day one. We're gonna finish our twin stance.
DeHarris said that the team really used the twin blade stance as the jumping off point, because they already knew the roles the single and double blade stances would play in combat, and so they wanted to start by trying to make the twin blades feel unique.
And that's where we started to think, okay, let's make twin a little more technical. Still approachable, anybody can pick up and play, but there's a lot more, combat nuance to it.
That combat nuance comes in several forms. For one, you're a bit of a glass cannon. You take more damage, but you attack faster and have a wider array of unique combos, some of which require you to pause for a beat before continuing the combo. In addition to that, Twin Blade Stance is the only one where you're able to dodge or guard cancel out of the startup animations of an attack. Other stances have you commit to your attacks very much like you would in a game like Dark Souls, where once you press the attack button, you have to wait until your attack animation finishes before you can get out of the way. You can rely a little more on your reflexes and freely get out of the way when danger is incoming.
With Twin, we kind of let you ride the line between, reckless and aggression, but you pay for it if you're making mistakes.
The single blade stance is the all-rounder stance of Jedi Survivor. It's got medium range and medium power, and a jack-of-all-trades approach to the skills that utilize it. It's relatively fast, so there's not the same amount of commitment to each attack compared to the slower stances. You can throw your lightsaber out for a mid-range attack, and its special ability is a strong thrusting attack that can be charged to deal heavy stamina damage to single enemies. Like in Fallen Order, the double-bladed stance is the go-to stance for crowd control. If there's a large group of weak B1 droids crowding an area, it's never a bad idea to bring out that double blade and start dancing your way through the crowd. It's largely focused on close-range damage spread out all around Cal. The downside is that there's a lot of startup time to its attacks, making it a weapon that you really need to be careful with when putting it to use against faster enemies. There will be 2 brand new stances that you'll be able to wield in Jedi Survivor, and while Respawn wanted to keep a lot of the cards relating to these 2 stances close to their chests, we do know that one of them is called the Crossguard stance and utilizes a hilted lightsaber much like the one that Kylo Ren uses, and the other one is called the Blaster stance, which is a fighting style that incorporates both a lightsaber and a blaster. DeHarris described the Crossguard stance as a high-risk stance that deals the most damage, but is also the slowest and has the least amount of range.
So that is one where we wanted the player to feel really powerful, but there's a huge risk, probably more than twin, I would say, to where you have to understand spacing, because with that stance, we don't artificially push you towards an enemy. It's kind of like a fighting game stance a little bit, so we wanted that stance to be a little more mastery curve there.
With regards to the blaster stance, the team wanted something with more range, but also thought that a Jedi using a blaster would be a cool opportunity from a story standpoint as well.
I know from a story standpoint, we thought it would be really something that reflects the journey that Cal's going through to do something that's unconventional, something that's usually frowned upon for a Jedi, and kind of putting him in this circumstance where he's doing whatever it takes in the situation. And, that's something that I think through conversations, we were able to really make that work in regards to combat. We wanted something that had more range. We wanted something that kind of had push and pull to it, where like the way the blaster is designed, it encourages you to use your saber in order to like replenish your ammunition on your gun. Like I said, it's almost this rubber band that we're encouraging the player to engage up close so that they can kind of make decisions when they're far away as well.
To be clear, this is still a melee combat game. You won't be sniping stormtroopers from a distance with the blaster stance.
It's not a shooter, obviously, right? It's like a melee gun, kind of, even though you're really shooting from long range, but there's a limit to it. But we always feed back into that thoughtful combat and kind of how we still want you to hit with the saber.
One of the most exciting aspects of these 5 stances is that they all come with their own skill tree. So each stance will have its own set of upgradable skills to help you further develop it. Stances aren't the only thing that have their own skill tree either. There's a tree for force powers and one for survival skills that offer flat increases to your health, force meter, and more. It all amounts to a combat system that offers a ton of flexibility in how you want to build up your own version of Cal Kestis. You can only equip 2 stances at a time, but you can change them at every meditation point and adjust your loadout for whatever the situation calls for. It's exciting stuff, and I'll go into more detail about it when my full preview for Star Wars Jedi Survivor comes out later this month. Thanks for watching, and for more IGN First coverage of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, make sure to check out our gameplay clip from Kobo, along with a breakdown of some of the new enemies that you'll be fighting. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.